So to kick things off, let me talk about that Shang-Chi trailer that dropped, man. I'll just kick things off, right? So what I would say is that, to be honest, I have no clue who, outside of Shang-Chi, I have no clue who these side characters are, or if they're related to, or if they are actual comic book characters or whatnot. I don't know who the villain is. Well, I'm seeing somebody who looks like the Mandarin. I believe he's played by my boy Tony Leung. I'm glad that Hollywood is giving him something to do. I mean, he's a legend as far as Hong Kong cinema and stuff goes. But yeah, for this trailer, I was impressed. I was impressed. It looks really decent. I dug the sort of hip hop song that they had in the background. The visuals fit. I was surprised to see some sort of I would say Avatar: The Last Airbender stuff in the background, like you saw like these sort of like giant bison, whatever it is. What else? We did some cool fight scenes, some training scenes and whatnot. I see what they did there with that shot of Shang-Chi training in his room. Sorry, doing the little push-ups. I see a poster of Kung Fu Hustle. I was like, all right, I see what y'all did there. Didn't expect to see Aquafina there. I was like, hey, look, McGill, Aquafina, right? And I made a joke. Well, Michael knew what I'm talking about. Where she recently, played, the last dragon in Raya and the Last Dragon. So, the question is, will she become a dragon or something like that in this movie here? But yeah, other than that though, I really don't have a clue what the show is about or what the universe is or how it kind of relates to the MCU. But it looks really impressive, man, from what I'm seeing here. But I'm expecting actually, since the movie is coming out September the 3rd, I'm expecting a second trailer that will show up probably during the summer that will pretty much kind of explain, oh, this is what's going on. This is how it all connects to everything that you've seen before in the MCU. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. Sorry, on the trailer thus far. Ricardo, quick thoughts on this Shang-Chi trailer here.
Yeah, this is Marvel's apology for both Iron Fist and Iron Man 3, right? In a sense,
I
right?
know.
Because it's
Yeah.
it's they're building off of that short that showed that, oh, the Mandarin is real after all. And then, well, Iron Fist was Iron Fist, so they actually like gonna actually be actual martial arts. And yeah, this guy Simu is good stuff. I mean, I really what's the name of the sitcom he's in? It's a sitcom about, I think, Korean.
Oh, I'm
Fresh
hearing
off
it
the
now.
boat.
It's Kim's Convenience.
Oh,
Kim's
that one?
Convenience.
Okay,
That's what I was
right,
thinking of,
cool.
right?
I
Yeah.
was thinking of the other one.
I think he's in that, right?
Yeah,
I think so,
I
yeah.
should
Right,
watch
right.
that though. You see, it's good, right?
Yeah, it's not bad. I see a few clips, and because I knew he was gonna be in this, I was like, all right, let me give it a shot. And yeah, it's pretty funny actually. Anyway, but this actually looks pretty fun. I don't know what it's gonna be about. Because I don't know about this character. They're doing a kind of a retcon because the Mandarin always looked like a Fu Manchu character, but this character is literally the son of Fu Manchu in the Marvel comics. So
Oh wow. Okay.
they make him the Mandarin son in this, and it's the real Mandarin, not that fake stuff that Aldrich Killian tried to pull off. So it's like, all right, I want to see what they will do with it going forward. It's fun trailer. Everybody charismatic and cool. Marvel doing the Asian tapping into that Asian energy, right now, and that hot right now, both in real life and the politics of it. It's like, yeah, it's good timing. I'm excited. That's good. It's fine.
Yeah, and I'm now reading on the Wikipedia page here. Michelle Yeoh, sorry, is in this as well. So hey, she
Right.
played
Yeah.
two MCU characters. So yay, points for her, right?
Right, for real.
Julia, quick thoughts on the Shang-Chi trailer.
Yeah, well, watching it, I had a similar experience when I was watching the Mulan trailer. I was like, well, okay, this doesn't look like a regular Disney movie. But watching this, like, oh, this doesn't look like a regular MCU movie. And I think that's a good thing. It looks like, hey, they're going to get straight martial arts, fantasy. And I mean, yeah, you'll have the usual MCU comedy, and Aquafina is going to be dropping, the one-liners, doing the craziness. I mean, it looks like fun. I mean, I love my old school kick-ups, and you
Same
kind of
here,
get
same
a
here.
bit of that sense from it, as well as the kind of the craziness of like a big trouble in Little China kind of something.
Right.
So I'm down for it. And I mean, this is probably the most obscure character we're having an MCU movie since they did Guardians. So it's
Probably
nice.
right.
Yeah. So it's nice to see MCU still taking risks, and they're like, we know nobody knows who the hell Shang-Chi is, but hey, we have confidence in our people, and we're gonna make you all love Shang-Chi, and he's gonna move up in the tiers. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely on board for this, and yeah, I'll be there.
All right, all right. Summer, quick thoughts on the Shang-Chi trailer.
Well, I actually was thinking the same thing like Ricardo when I saw it, where you could see they're definitely trying to course correct after the mess that was Iron Fist. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see more of the Mandarin done right. Yeah, after all this time. Yeah, it does have that old school kick up feel to it. I am not familiar with Shang-Chi as well. For all the comics I read, I don't know much about the character, but I know that I think I saw a top 10 poll once on one of those YouTube channels I follow that actually rated him as the best fighter in the Marvel Universe, hand to
Right.
hand fighter.
Yeah. He's supposed to
So,
be.
yeah, so I'm excited to see what they do with it. I think they look. My thing is, once it doesn't vie too far away from the fantastical, I'm happy for that because that to me, that's the mistake Iron Fist did. They didn't embrace their comic book roots. They went for the whole grounded in reality thing and it just veered off the tracks completely. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a solid start and I'm excited to see trailer 2 to get a little bit more of what's going on there and to see how Shang-Chi fits in with the rest of this world, especially with this new phase of Marvel being more
Right.
magic oriented.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Michael, quick thoughts on the trailer.
Well, to start off, I don't know a lot about Shang-Chi in terms of the comics. What little I know is that he was basically based on Bruce Lee. So hence the
But
reason
of
for
course,
the emphasis on the martial arts, which I think is brilliant to have such an iconic character as the inspiration for this character because Bruce Lee himself was a character. And in terms of the trailer itself, I've heard before, like when they had started production, that it was loosely based on a sort of Enter the Dragon kind of vibe with a tournament and stuff like that. So to me, this is the Mortal Kombat movie that I actually wanted to see this year. That's how the trailer
I
made
mean,
me feel.
yeah, I made that joke. I think I made that joke. I think it's on your post or one of them. I said Marvel Combat. No?
Yeah, because
Right.
realistically, this looks more like a Mortal Kombat movie than the actual Mortal Kombat movie we got this year.
yeah, which we're gonna get into in detail, man. And last but not least, Tracy, thoughts on the trailer.
Hi. So for me, I will say this. While watching that, I got the same level of excitement that I got when Black Panther, the teaser trailer for Black Panther came out.
Right.
Because
Ooh, yeah,
I looked at that and I was watching some of these things. I was like, okay, they seem like if they might be in Korea again, South Korea, which is, like that car scene in Black Panther where he actually jumps on the other car. It's in South Korea. So I was looking at it and I was like, this has a kind of a Black Panther energy in terms of how it made me feel. I get excited over comic book properties in general, but when I was looking at it, I was like, yes, I want this. I am legitimately here for the Aquafina / Speed bus ride scene that was
Yeah,
going on. I thought that was hella hilarious. The
yeah.
thing that kind of
Clearly a nod to Sandra Bullock, right?
Yeah,
I
so
was like, yeah, that's that classic Nora. But the thing for me was because, like everyone here, I know bits and pieces, but not a great deal about Shang-Chi. And I was like, okay, I need to see a little bit more. I need to read up a little bit more. My excuse was that I grew up in the house of DC, but I liked the history that was associated with Marvel, so I would like dip my foot into it. But I do feel I agree with you guys. I do feel like this is a very good course correction from My Name is Trevor in
right.
Iron Man 3 because I wasn't in the mood for that, and even Aldrich coming out and screaming "I am the Mandarin," which is
Oh
hilarious.
God, yeah.
But I'm really I'm really excited. My only bit of sadness that I felt because I saw a comic book panel online where T'Challa was talking about Shang-Chi and he was talking to Luke Cage and he was saying, your boy Danny thinks he's the best fighter, but it's actually Shang-Chi. And I was like, it would have been, imagine the possibilities of seeing Chadwick and
Yeah.
Simu on the same
Together.
screen. They would have torn apart every scene that they're in. But generally speaking, I'm here for it. I am ready. I am planning some variation of our outfit. So
I appreciate your accurate pronunciation of Shang.
I learned.
That
I learned. Yeah, Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like what you said about the comparison to Black Panther now, because I actually made a mental note that basically this could very well be like the Asian or the Asian American equivalent to a Black Panther now.
Yeah,
There's the
yeah.
possibility of it.
And
And
I hope
what
everyone comes out and supports Indeed. That's really that's my hope.
Yeah, one of the things too, I like the idea that I mean, all of these, most of these actors, with the exception of one, Iron Fist, yeah, most
Uh-huh.
to bring
Mm-hmm.
across these Netflix characters. I really hope they don't waste the actors because there's opportunity here, especially with this with Shang-Chi, is that they have had crossovers in the comics with like Misty Knight and Colleen Wig and these characters, showing up in his world with the Daughters of the Dragon and all of that. So it would be very cool if they find a way to, just bring them into his world, into this world. Since they already are here in the comics.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a pretty solid trailer. Now I have more enough time to read up on this character. Hopefully, some info leak about the show, so I'll know what arcs to read and what big stories to check out or whatnot, so I could be a little prepared for what the show have to offer. But yeah, I mean this trailer here, I'm excited, but I really want to see like a second trailer, pretty much explain. Oh, this is what's going on. You know what I mean? So yeah, I can't wait for that.
As a random thing, the artist that you're hearing in terms of the music, apparently it's Jackson Wang. He's like a big K-pop rapperish kind of guy. I
Oh,
have to get more
Okay,
information about him,
okay.
but his name is Jackson
Points
Wang.
for them, dude. For because I
Yeah,
thought it was just some random American rapper that they just pick. You know what I mean? Like like Amigos or something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
Amigos aren't random, but you know what I mean. There's somebody catchy, somebody trendy, But I didn't think it was like some K-pop rap. Sorry, South Korean rapper. That's really cool, man. Yeah. Points to Marvel for that, man. Points for that. All right, so keep it with Marvel again. Let's finally talk about the full season of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This was the second miniseries to drop from both Marvel Studios and Disney Plus. Right? We got 6 episodes, and the last one actually wrapped up just a couple of days before we met up here online. Ricardo, take it away. What was this season about in a nutshell?
yeah. So basically, we following up from the events of Endgame, where the big last sequence involving Falcon was him basically receiving the mantle of Captain America, and what that means, and him basically starting up the narrative of saying, all right, well, I am kind of going to reject the call in a sense. He's saying the shield doesn't belong to me, but in the sense that he doesn't feel somewhat deserving of the shield, and he kind of gives up the shield for that. But then shenanigans ensues on the side of the government, and they give the shield to this nobody, some nowhere kind of guy who they decide to pick, and that causes all kind of issues. And then meanwhile, the follow up from the fallout of the Snap event um, in Endgame was these flag smashers, this group of people who thought, well, life was kind of better while everything was blipped, right? While half the population was gone, because we tried the humanity united and we was actually helping out each other, and all the old world bullshit wasn't thinging, and they were kind of right in a sense, right? But they use violent methods, and now they had to sort that out, and it builds from there. Bucky comes back, and we could just talk about that from now on and build from there.
Yeah, correct. All right. Well, my thoughts on it, right? We will, get a little spoilery along the way, right? My thoughts with this too is that just to get out of the way, no, it's not as great as WandaVision, but I wasn't really expecting it to be though. But for what it is and what they were aiming, that what they were really going for in terms of the character progression, the teams, you know what I mean, what they really wanted to focus on. I thoroughly dug this too. I would say, well, for me, the reason why I enjoyed it way more than I should is that I actually kind of did a recap of it, before watching the final episode. And I would say, especially for those who going into this for the first time, it works if you look at it as a 6 hour movie, in my opinion.
Right.
But if you watch it like, just periodically, sorry, like weekly, sorry, you would kind of find your expectations to not be met basically, especially with the final episode. But I'll talk about the final episode a bit. But in terms of just where they took the argument, in terms of you know what I mean, what the legacy of Captain America, and especially emphasis on the shield and what it represents, though, I really really appreciated that. I thought that performance wise, and I mean everybody, pretty much did a great job. People have their issues with Anthony Mackie, but I still thought that he was great, playing Sam Wilson and, Falcon and, the new Captain America. Yes, let's get out of the way. Sebastian Stan was great also as Bucky Barnes and, slash Winter Soldier. And just the banter between the two worked as well. You know what I mean? They do play the whole body cop thing, like especially in the second episode where it's like, oh, you know what I mean? You want to rush and stop the bad guys, but look and see how many people there. How many people you seeing? Two? Well, look, you know what I mean? Look at my little Red Wing. Look at what you're seeing there. You know what I mean? So that little back and forth thing worked for me. But I like how the characters developed over time. Also was glad to see Zemo, me, be in it as well too. You know me, once again, played by Daniel Bruhl. I thought that he was the same Swami character that he was in Civil War, basically, right? So yeah, and I like that he had his little scheme on the side, basically, which pretty much, well, in a simple term, was just wiping out anything related to the super soldiers or the super soldier serum, right? I just love how he just played that little final card at the end, like, you'll think because I got arrested, I out of this thing. Nah, you know what I mean? Also, really dug Wyatt Russell, who played John Walker. For the moment we saw him at the end of episode one, he was, it was just that meme with his shot though, and I like how the show plays it off like, oh, who's this goofy looking guy with these big ears? And he's supposed to be the new Captain America. But I love how just the show just develops his character, and then you realize, oh wait, there's something really like dark about this guy, and then they set it up well pretty early actually from the second episode onward actually. And um I know it has some people who would kind of be disappointed by where his character ends up, but I was like, but this is what I really like about the show here. That it's just that just because they're villains or they do bad things doesn't necessarily mean that you should just kind of push them aside and they should die or whatever it is. There's room for redemption, but that doesn't mean that they're gonna be just good. You know what I mean? Just for the rest of their lives, basically, right? They believe in certain things and that causes them to do certain things. So yeah, they accept it or not, right? So case in point, that I call it that Game of Thrones S moment in not season, episode 4, where he kills that super soldier guy with the shield. Truly powerful moment, caught me by surprise. I mean, it's a very Disney-esque, Disney Plus-esque version of what would have been just a brutal scene from like a HBO show, but it worked though in terms of where the character, how far the character goes now. As far as him being U.S. agent, no, I like that they just kind of keep it open, so you don't know what's gonna happen next if he's gonna just be some shady agent or if he's really gonna be fighting for America. We don't know, right? Now, this last thing I just want to say before we get to your thoughts, guys. As for flaws, though, I would say I did not really care for for Kylie Morgenthau. That's the actress Erin Kellyman plays her. Um, I really dug the motivation that she has, though, and just the idea that, oh, you know what I mean? She's one of many displaced refugees, and this organization, I think it's called the GPC, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Not really taking their needs to heart. So let's try to take them over, right? And then there's this like great speech near the end where the new Captain America basically talking about, well, you call them terrorists, right? But how do you think they see you? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But I just wish that as far as a villain though, she was, like I understand. She just feels like she just has to do this as a means to an end. But still her and the crew just kind of came off like we just really trying to be tough, you know what I mean? Like in a sense. Like I know the super soldiers, like I was expecting them to be this really great threat now, you know what I mean? Like from what we've seen in the MCU films thus far. But here it's just well, you just these jacked up young super soldiers who, just want to do these acts because, we feel that Captain America, and just the idea of him is bad. So we just need to do these things, and Kali just rushing plans and whatnot, right? There's even a great moment in the final episode where it's like, yeah, we're gonna do this, right? One will, one people. So she says, "He one will." Everybody like seeing nothing there, and she's like, "One will," and everybody's like, one people." You know what I mean? So that was a cool moment, though. You know what I mean? But I mean, the actress is cooler, but I just find like just her being a villain, I don't know, like it just was kind of underwhelming for me. And also in terms of just the arcs that they kind of leave open, though, I felt that there were a few that they could have just tied up a little neater, in my opinion. I do love what they do in terms of the basically what we learned to be well, I forget the guy's name, but essentially he was like the black Captain America, like the original one actually.
Isaiah.
Yeah, Isaiah, right. And the story that like just the moments with him though were just fantastic in my opinion. That really elevated the show to me. I didn't expect the show to really touch on Reese and to just be bold, to just come out bold and say, hey, after 20 plus movies in the MCU, yeah, we're gonna tell her, yeah, there was a black Captain America, and pretty much the government just erases existence. We're just gonna drop that on all there, and all they had to take that as is, right? But I love where how that arc ended. That was really powerful in my opinion. So yeah, what I would say just to wrap up before we get to you guys' thoughts, it's not perfect. It's similar to WandaVision. It's not a perfect show. I know there'll be people who will just nitpick stuff for these to come. But for me, just seeing it as like this 6 hour movie worked for me. Just seeing this whole story play out, and I think that's the best way to really consume it, right? But yeah, I think that it was just a step up in terms of where you take these secondary, or I should say tertiary characters, basically in the MCU. And yeah, I mean, last thing last, Captain America 4. Yeah, I ready. I ready for that. So, Julian, thoughts on well, honest opinion and spoilers actually on this season here.
Well, I will have to differ from you, where I actually prefer this to WandaVision.
Yeah.
And why I
Okay.
say
Okay.
that, I thought WandaVision started so unique, so avant-garde, and then just coming down, it just started to get more and more generic. And it
More
ended
MCU.
more
More
MCU. It
MCU.
went
Yeah.
full MCU, and I found that the finale was very disappointing for me. Where they were,
Okay.
I didn't find it wrapped up things satisfactorily, and I was like, I mean, after y'all was so brave before, and then it felt like some executive came in and said, no, 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 y'all need to let's play it safe at the end. And whereas I found with Falcon and Winter Soldier, other than the first episode, the pacing was a little off. It was a little slow. But after that, I thought it got better and better. It peaked with part 4, which felt like a movie in itself. That was just like,
It did.
when I,
It did. Yeah.
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 When I saw, I
Very,
was like,
very well
what?
paced. Very,
That
yeah.
just
Very,
blew my
very
mind.
well paced.
Yeah.
Love how they just blend the action with the drama. Of course, I mean how we could forget forgetting the name. I mean the royal guards from Wakanda. Them
Oh,
showing
Malaj.
up.
The Dora
Yeah.
Milaje.
Dora Milaje. Yeah. Yeah.
Dora Milaje.
That jurisdiction line though will go down as one of the best lines uttered in the MCU show. Period.
And and
I
and
love that.
don't forget, they weren't even super soldiers.
Yeah.
I know,
Classic,
right?
classic. Yeah. And episode 5 was a little, I kind of take a breath, relax, kind of breather. And I thought the finale, it was could have been a little better, but I thought it was satisfying. And especially where you mentioned the Isaiah Bradley. That ending where he went and saw his stuff in the museum. I mean, that pull on the heartstrings there,
It
man.
Yeah.
I
did.
thought
It did.
that was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, and what I
I,
love though, sorry to cut you. What I love though
yeah.
is how the show itself kind of shows, conflicting views now. But in the sense of Isaiah and Sam is like, all right, well, I am going to be Captain America. You don't have to like it, but I have to do this for my personal reasons. I like that. Isaiah's not gonna Isaiah's gonna be hard about it, but at the same time, it's like, look, this is what you want to do. I respect that. You do your thing. You hold you bear that shield with pride, man. I mean, I know what gonna happen to you in the next few years, with the government, but dude, you do your thing, Jet. So I love that about this show.
Yeah, and actually, I'm not the biggest fan of Anthony Mackie's acting, and I found like in the first episode, I found he was a little stiff, but I even found he actually even got better and better. like I loved his stuff with the Carly Morgenthau character.
Mm.
I loved him with Isaiah Bradley as well too, and the body cop thing with Sebastian Stan you mentioned was really good. One thing I will note, I think I wanted a bit more Bucky, a bit more Winter
Agreed.
Soldier in this. I
Agreed.
found that,
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
yeah, yeah, it really felt like this was the Falcon guest starring the Winter Soldier.
Right.
Where yeah, he was just I just kind of there to support, and like they started his story, and it was like, yeah, we're too interested in your story, and it's like, okay, let's wrap it up. And even with the action scenes, I didn't get like a scene was like, yeah, Bucky Rel Shang. I mean,
Right.
Falcon and later Captain America had ample scenes where he's like, yeah, Rel a boss, but I was still waiting for Bucky to like, hey, kind of do a full kind of semi Winter Soldier something.
Yeah.
So I think that was a bit of a bit of a downside for me. But overall, I enjoyed it. I had so much fun with it, and I think revisiting this one, I will enjoy it more than going back with WandaVision. So yeah, I
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
As much as I liked WandaVision, this one surprisingly, it surprised me. It edges out WandaVision for me.
All right. Michael, your thoughts on the season here with spoilers if you need to.
Well, I kind of agree with Julian that as much as I liked WandaVision, I prefer Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I know this probably sounding strange coming from somebody who is all about the magic and stuff like that, but one of the things that really shows in the writing is the understanding of the characters and the expectations that come along with them from the comics. So like there was a lot of speculation in WandaVision about what would happen and which characters we would see because we are familiar with her iconic comic book stories. And
Right.
apparently, the writers weren't as familiar with those iconic comic book stories, so we didn't get what we expected to see. And that's one of the things with Marvel is that they're usually very good at giving you exactly what you expect and then still giving you surprises. So we kind of were looking for, some big reveals and some big exciting things to happen that never actually materialized, which to me was a letdown in terms of WandaVision, although I still enjoy the series. But whereas with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they pretty much included everything that we expected to see and then some, right? So the series is literally just about showing us why Sam Wilson was the right choice for Captain America, and that's why I think to a large extent we don't see as much of Bucky as we probably would have liked to. But really and truly, it is the story of why Sam Wilson should be Captain America, and much like the first Avenger, that's basically the same thing they did because prior to the first Avenger, I never liked Captain America as a character. It was so bad I wouldn't even play him in the video games. I just never liked him. And then I saw that movie and
So
it
so
gave
so it
me
wasn't for the shield slashing thing from
I
Marvel
hate that.
Marvel
I
Capcom.
hated that. Right? See, Marvel versus Capcom, I hated that character. Right? With his stars and stripe bullshit. He just used to piss me
Stars and
off all the
stripes.
time. Right? But somehow in watching the movie, when they show us who the character really is prior to becoming Captain America, his motivations and his thought process and who he is as a person, all of a sudden he became an interesting character to me and I actually started to like Captain America going forward. And similarly, it would have been so easy to just give the shield to Sam and say, all right, use Captain America now. But would we have felt the same way about him had we not seen him go through these trials that eventually showed him why he should be Captain America? And I think all the other characters in the show were just there to show us the alternate perspectives in his thought process, including Isaiah Bradley, because that is who Falcon could have become.
Right.
He could have been the angry black man who vexed, hey, all you do you want to get me alone and I save the flicking world. You
Yeah, yeah.
understand?
Mm.
But through his empathy and his understanding of other people's point of view, it shows why he is the person that we should be emulating to lead, you know, whether it be the Avengers or whatever moving forward, right? It gave us a reason to root for him as Captain America, right? And it's not about him being black, it's not about him having superpowers, is that at the end of the day, he's a person who considers, fairness and all sides of the coin. And to some extent, I think that's why they didn't, make. And there's no real villains in the series, right? And I
True,
that's
true,
one of the
true.
things I actually like about the series, because as was stated in the speech at the end, it's not always black and white, right? You can't say that this person is a villain all the time, right? Villains have their moments where they might do something good, they might have redeeming qualities, and they have their motives for why they do the bad stuff. So there's no one real villain in the story. And I kind of appreciated that, as opposed to something like Thanos, where, no matter what his motives is, okay, Thanos wrong. But with the Flag Smashers and even with the GRC, you could kind of see why they thought the way they thought. Even Zemo, he believes that giving anybody the power of a super soldier is a recipe for disaster, and he's not entirely wrong, right? As is evident in Johnny Walker, right?
Yeah,
Because
Johnny Walker.
at the end of the day, here's somebody on paper who's the ideal American, right? He have how much ever medals of honor and whatever, and he serve his country and blah 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 yada yada, and you know he himself was corrupted by, even prior to getting the super soldier serum, because he had these expectations on him, and he was trying to live up to the expectations rather than making his own decisions about what is right and wrong. And that's the difference between him and Falcon, because Falcon had expectations on him as well, but he chose to make his own decisions based on his own moral compass, and to hell with what anybody else think. You know, he understands your point of view. He might empathize with you, but he doesn't have to agree with you. And I
Right.
think that's really what this show is about. It's about showing the qualities of Sam Wilson and why that makes him the best choice for Captain America, right? Also, another thing we need to understand is that yes, it was 6 hours, and there might be other characters that we would have liked to see. Originally, it was supposed to be 9 hours, but due to COVID, they
COVID, yeah.
they had to abandon some of the storylines that they were planning on doing, including
Mm.
Torres, right?
Right.
Torres
Oh
is
yeah.
supposed to become the new Falcon, and they had a
Right.
whole storyline for him that they just couldn't do. So I am okay with other characters being a little bit underdeveloped, because at the end of the day, the story isn't really about them. Even Bucky, the story really isn't about Bucky. The section of the story we needed to see with the Winter Soldier, we got it, and we can move forward from it now because he got his redemption in the series as well, and that's really all we needed to see with him in this respect. Because realistically, he could never be Captain America anytime soon, right? He's not there yet, and that's fine. So I was thoroughly happy with the series, and as you say, it's literally a 6 hour movie. I even joked that it is much better than the Snyder cut, which that was four
Yep.
hours of unnecessary storyline, right?
Uh,
So that's the less said about that, the better. But at the end of the day, I think they, as a complete package, Falcon and Winter Soldier was to date one of the best written pieces of Marvel entertainment, right? Even in
nice.
terms of how they introduce the social commentary. And another thing that a lot of people don't seem to realize, that whole Isaiah Bradley thing about experimenting on the black super soldier, that is actually based on some real events that happened in America's history. Eh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's not just well, we didn't know what to do with the character, so we just stuck him in at the last minute. That's literally stuff that happened in real life, and I
Yeah.
appreciate the series for going there and not shying away from those things, and still showing you that even though as a black person in America you might have real reason to hate the government, hate the establishment, the hate doesn't solve the problem, and that is what I really appreciate about that show, that they're not saying that you're wrong for feeling a certain way, but we need to also find a positive way forward. And that makes it, to me, hands down, the best piece of written material in Marvel history thus far.
Yeah, understand, understand. Well, before we get to you, Ricardo, don't worry, Tracy and some you'll get to speak on the piece, right?
Eh,
I saw a few people online talking about how they find Sam's speech near the end to be real cringy. You know, like almost like they was expecting some kind of swelling music. I mean, it had like nice music in the background, but it's the idea that you have to have this speech that you're giving this message. But I was like, no, but what he's saying make makes sense, right? Like this is the kind of stuff that you'll be going back to, you know what I mean? See when some future Captain America movie come out and be like, oh, remember when you talk about that, and see how it kind of comes back here, you know what I mean? I feel like that. I don't know, like I just feel like people just wanted some big spectacular, like more spectacular action as opposed to Sam just speaking in peace. But I love that moment. I don't know what y'all.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
yeah,
I just wanted to jump in on that one.
sure.
I thought the speech was good. I think it probably could have been a little tighter. I thought it kind of
Right.
went on for a while. It's like, okay, is he still talking?
That
So I
that is
think
true. That is
the
true.
Yeah.
if the writing was a little tighter and punchier and it was shorter, and you're just like, you man, you all think these people are terrorists and you all need to stop it. And
Mhm.
a little tighter, I think it would have been more effective.
Yeah.
It went on a
Well,
little
the
too
thing is,
long. So I think
what
that's part of the problem.
yeah, what the MCU does do is normal people talking. He's not a professor of politics or anything like that, right? He's a normal guy.
Yeah, agreed. All right, well, Ricardo, take it away. Your thoughts on the whole season.
Yeah,
Stuff you love, stuff you
I
hate.
couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't really say what in terms of all the errors. I couldn't tell what was the difference between the unforced error and what was a product of COVID. Like I couldn't tell what was so. Like clearly stuff got held back because of COVID, and a lot of stuff got held back because of this and that and the other. So I'll say it was. I liked it a lot, but it felt a little undercooked, right? Because as Michael mentioned earlier, yeah, a bunch of stuff had to get cut, and we could
Hmm.
tell. But
Yeah.
it's still the as I said, much like with Avengers Endgame for me, I didn't like a lot of the meat of it, but like the actual emotional weight and core is very good. So remember back on episode 1 when we were talking about that, the character I was mentioning, who I said I hope they do, they did, right? Truth, red, white, and black. If you know that comic, that's where the character comes from. Great. And they did Isaiah Bradley. They get a top man to play him, right? Carl Lumbly
Yeah.
himself, right? Carl Lumbly, Martian Manhunter himself, Mantis himself,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
to come through. And yeah, I was like truly happy that they did that storyline. It's a lot of there's a lot of history of black experimentation, Tuskegee experiment stuff, even Henrietta Lacks, if you know who that is. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that history, and they pulled from that energy, and they made that work. As for Falcon himself, they did the thing that we were always worried about, and they pivoted it into it, right? Which is, hey, Anthony Mackie is not a leading man. How are we gonna make him a leading man? And they say, yeah, they just have him as the underdog and have him as the good guy, and he's do little statements and things like that. Is one little great moment with him and Zemo when Zemo asked him if you want to take the super soldier serum, and he almost immediately said no. And
Yes.
it's
Yeah. I
little stuff
remember that.
like that. Yeah, little stuff like that that made it work. Little side characters was great. Bucky has an arc that I liked. I felt they could have done a little more with it, but I get what they went for, and we could probably get into like deeper analysis of what you think that might mean because I have my own analysis of what they was doing with Bucky. Um, and then overall, I had fun with it in terms of just somebody just moments and action sequences like that. Just watching that one Dora Milaje do the kickflip shield thing that Captain did Winter
Yes.
Soldier in the elevator scene. I just absolutely love little stuff like that. And
Yeah.
it was just really well done. Really appreciated it for what it was trying to do, what it was trying to say, and it's balanced. They made it balanced. Like it's the MCU in the end of the day. I'm not expecting them to do anything too radical or anything like that. Like I ain't expecting Sam to quote Kwame Ture anytime soon, right? It's just really well done in terms of the storytelling and making it work for what it is, and just giving Sam his arc as the new Captain America. And I thought ultimately it was pretty good, even though it was pretty undercooked. But again, I can't tell what was because of that or COVID. I couldn't tell. Really couldn't tell. Like where they had to cut corners and why they had to cut corners and where. It was just well done. So yeah, overall I really liked it. I mean, I have a whole big essay of what I could all the little problems and issues I have, but maybe whenever, right?
Right. I hear you. Summer, your thoughts with spoilers on the season here.
Well, I'll start by saying that I know a lot of people compare which one is better, Wanda or this. I am not one of those people. I don't think either one is better than the other because they're so different in
Yeah,
terms of what the themes are and I know and what the genres are. I don't like to compare them like that because I enjoy both of them. I'm definitely always more for magic. I'm that person, but I could appreciate this for what it was. That said, I know they cut out a lot due to COVID and that sort of thing, but I just felt like if you have to cut it, then cut it all because then it's the message can get muddled and some of
yeah,
these messages you don't want them to get lost. with the whole issue with Bucky and Bucky's storyline, I get that this was Falcon becoming Captain America's story. I do get that. You know, I even read the comics on that, and I think they did a solid job of portraying message in both, with the whole thing of a black man being Captain America. But let's say, for instance, Bucky handling PTSD, and by the end of it, he seemed cured. That is a dangerous message to put out there. You know that you could just, you know, say, "Hey, thanks for the therapy, it worked," and you move on. It doesn't work like that, you know. And
Right.
I still think they should have showed that Buffy wasn't quote unquote cured, but more still a man doing work, that sort of thing. And while I feel like, yeah, we did get Bucky's story in Captain America and the Winter Soldier, we didn't really need a lot of that here. I'm fine with that. I didn't like that messages such as that. The main message here being more on racism in America, that sort of thing, and pushing aside development of other things like the character of what the leader of the Flag Smashers. Sorry, what's her name again?
Kali,
Kali.
Carly.
Yeah.
Kali Morgenthau.
You know, I know they cut out the entire thing with her and the woman who she was at the funeral for, the woman who raised her.
Right.
I would
I
have,
forgot the name. The
yeah, the
mama
actress is
something.
actually quite amazing in Queen of the South, you know. She's a very gifted actress, and I feel
Oh yeah,
like giving,
I've been meaning to watch that show. I know it's in its final season, so
yeah,
that's like excuse enough to start
she's
watching.
amazing there. And the thing about it is, I feel like if they did not cut that out, I would have had more sympathy for Carly. In the end, all I saw was an angry teenager.
Yeah.
So I get that she's not,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
I get that she's not a terrorist, but it's a very underdeveloped villain, you know, or I don't know, sorry to use the word villain, but, you know, antagonist, you know. So things like that. And well, the biggest issue I had with this was the fact that Johnny Walker, as you all are calling him, seemed to be get this slap on the wrist. Now, this is something that actually does
Right.
happen. He's a white man, and this stuff happens in real life. But just the fact that he just saved, maybe tried to save a group of people, and all is well and all is forgiven by Bucky and Sam. That crap doesn't work for me. It brings back memories of what happening with Fast and Furious and Han. It's
Right.
like
Oh,
I am
yeah, yeah.
to believe that you murdered somebody in front of everybody, and that everything is okay because you tried to save one group of people. You know, it just
Yeah.
doesn't work for me. But the stuff that did work is I do agree with Julian. Anthony Mackie's acting got better as the series went along. I still don't buy him as a leader. I really don't. But I do buy him as Captain America. I think he deserves to carry that shield. The action sequences were satisfying for a television series. And I did like the introduction of Julia, what's her, Louise Dreyfus
Right.
as
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "What? You in
character
this?"
because
Like, so from Veep, all of a sudden she in this show.
yes, I think
I
it's
thought that was
perfect
cool.
casting because
Yeah.
her character in the comics, she has a lot of storyline. And if
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
going to
As you say that, what is her character though? Because
she
She's
is
they never really
supposed
say.
she
Madam
basically
Hydra.
she is
Madam
Madam
Hydra.
Hydra. She becomes Madam Hydra. And
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well,
she
okay. So
was
she's
lover.
kind of two characters. It's
Yeah,
Madam Hydra, but she's also supposed to be just the same name, Val, whoever it is.
yeah, Valdemar
And
Bigger.
she's supposed to be a love interest of Nick Fury as well. So the
Yeah,
implication is that she's supposed to be like the kind of dark counterpart of Nick Fury. The implication
correct.
is that right.
Right.
Yes. And she also there's also an a storyline that reveals that she may have been a Russian spy the entire time she was with Shield. So there's a lot to that character that could be very cool, and I think the casting is pitch perfect. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what they do there. Also with US Agent, I mean, he's never been a straight up hero type to me, the
Right.
character, because he did try to kill the Avengers on different occasions. He has a temper problem, which they got across here. So, you know, I don't know if we'll get a season two. I have no idea what Marvel is doing with these series, but
Yeah. I
overall,
think the plan is to lead it into a possible Captain America 4 because that was the announcement last week, I believe it was. That we
okay,
get a movie from that. So
right.
yeah, it's how they're gonna lead up to it. That's what I want to see, especially if it's Anthony Mackie playing that
Yeah.
role now.
the strongest aspects of the film was definitely, I mean, the acting by Carl Lumbly elevated every scene. It add weight to it, you know, that would not have been there, I think, in the hands of a lesser actor. And I enjoyed this series, I would say, to the same extent I enjoyed WandaVision, just a different genre. You know, that's all it was for me.
Right, right. Okay. A couple questions before we get to your thoughts, Tracy, right, and Rayton. Two questions. What are your guys' thoughts on, Sharon Carter being this, shady
Oh,
power broker character?
yeah,
Like, I was a little
That
iffy
was
with
the
it.
on the
You
worst
know,
part of
fence.
the
I'm on
series.
the
Yeah, I'm
fence.
on the
me too. I'm on the fence
Yeah.
as well. But yeah, go on.
I'm with you
It,
guys on the fence.
yeah, it
Yeah.
kind of. The problem is it's kind of clumsy, and I'm hard pressed to think why that would be a justification for her to go as evil as it did. Like this, I think like the first time that Marvel did this, where you have an outright heel turn character, right?
Well, yeah, yeah.
So
Because
I'm
Sharon is the one who assassinated Cap in the comics. Well, the
right,
Steve Rogers Cap, but she was under duress. So I'm not sure where they're going with this.
right.
And I'm treating it wait and see.
Right. And but the thing is, another thing too is that it's clearly going to set up Armor Wars, right? So
Hmm.
because you know what they mentioned is she possibly going to do at the end there. That was kind of had me a little off now. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just I
access to all these weapons and all these
yeah, and
plans and things. Yeah.
right. But I just really hard pressed to understand why she would have an outright heel turn. And I'm really like I get it. I get what they might but I hope they give a better explanation than what I think it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever.
Now, one gripe though, I wish that they could have explained it like a little bit why she is the power broker. It can't just be, well, oh, the government turned their back on me and I is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
metropole and I'm selling, paintings and shit. There had to be more than that. But I really was expecting her to say something as opposed to, okay, that post credit scene where she's pardoned now and then all of a sudden, ooh, now I got the real goods. That kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
And second question before we get to you, Tracy. Don't worry, we'll get to you. What are your thoughts on the new Captain America suit? I I dig it. I like it. I
Right.
like it. I
So
It's
I,
very
I
comic accurate.
that's
So
the
it
thing, right?
is, yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing with it. I find it's comic accurate, but a little too comic accurate. Like it looks, I think it looked a little too off, and I couldn't tell because of the lighting. It looked a little weird. Like because it's nighttime, we didn't really get to see it in day. So it's all these extra shot, these lighting styles and approaches that not really clearing it up for me. And then the shoulder pads looking a little off.
Yeah,
Um,
my biggest problem is that it just didn't fit him properly.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. That was the most noticeable thing for me. And then I can it had a little too much white at the top, like no pun intended, right? Uh, but I felt it could have put in some blue to balance it off a little better. Yeah, the the
Well,
the,
well, you
the
have to
color scheme
remember
look
too.
off.
You have to remember too. They're trying to first and foremost be comics accurate, but
Right.
this is Marvel. Every time we see him moving forward, that suit will be different. So
Right.
don't get
Exactly.
ahead of.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
going to
Exactly.
change.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But it's still look okay. I don't have any big problems with it. It looked fine. I get that they had to make it comic accurate. It's fine.
Yeah, I
Right.
think my only issue was the preponderance of white. It kind
Yeah.
of was
It's
a
too
little
much white at the
distracting
top.
for me.
Yeah. Exactly. It was a
But
little
other
too
than
much
that,
white at
I
the
thought it
top.
looked cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tracy, thoughts on suit and then overall thoughts on the season.
Well, for the suit, I legitimately I had no issues with it. My one joke in terms of the suit was when the wings expand. I mean, I
Yeah.
literally hear Bone Thugs and Harmony in my head because that whole angel thing coming
Crossroads.
down Crossroads. Um,
Pum, pum,
but
pum,
I
pum,
yes,
pum.
was
Papa, what you gonna
like that
do?
scene where he's coming down with Carly after she's dead. That
Yeah.
is Crossroads.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But in terms of the series, like I was checking my notes on how I felt about this series. Coming into this, I wanted more magic. You've just given me WandaVision, and I felt like what I needed now was Loki. And then
Yeah.
after Loki, give me whatever else that you want to give me. Now, if I remember correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier was supposed to be
Be first, yeah.
the first show, but with everything else that happened serendipitously, I'm putting it like that, serendipitously,
Yeah.
Wanda ended up coming out first because Wanda is obviously the 3 weeks after Endgame, and Falcon is like a couple months after Endgame.
Hmm.
Uh, So I was like, okay, I can deal with it. My heights was because if you'll remember, my feelings on like episode one moving forward, I realized that I liked it, but it was giving me feelings that, if I'm being honest, I at the time I really didn't really want to sit down and think about. I was like, you know what, Bucky isn't the only one who needs therapy here, clearly. Because I sat down and I was watching it, I was, seeing him give up the shield, and why he decided to do that, and the idea of as soon as he gives up the shield, they go and they find somebody else who is less qualified, and I started to feel twitchy. But for the rest of the series of itself, I quite liked it. I quite enjoyed it, and naturally, I have the music for it. At least the first volume one, so which is the first three
Yeah,
episodes. So
which is really dope, by the way. Henry Jackman score. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's Henry Jackman, man. I mean, yeah.
I have my running joke with the score is when I heard the marching band Captain America theme, so the Star Spangled Man theme, when
Yeah.
John was running out into the field, I
I
was like,
dug that
what is
song.
this? No, but my thing was like, I was like, what is this blasphemy? I don't need it.
Why?
What is that?
It's too jazzy or something. Or what
And
was wrong
it
with
was
it?
it was no, it was for me. It was now because I had the original 1940s big band Star Spangled Man on my phone, and that's what I've been listening to, forever.
Right.
Uh, and when I listen to this and I see it's associated with John Walker, I was like, this is blasphemy and I don't need it. But then when the soundtrack came out and I actually had this in my ears, this shit it's a bop. And I'm like, okay, I love it. I need it. I am down with this. I am playing it on rotation. Um, I still can't get mad at the Flag Smashers. I feel like maybe yes, they could have been developed a little bit more. That relationship with Mama Dunya is her name, I think it was. I could have been fleshed out a great deal more,
Yeah.
but I'm not. I'm not angry at the Flag Smashers. It's one of those things that for me personally, I sometimes have to check myself because I'm like, was Thanos wrong? Are these Flag Smashers, and are they wrong? I mean, I don't necessarily want to see them blow up people in order to achieve their goals, but for the entire series, I couldn't get mad at the Flag Smashers. What I did enjoy as well, this version of Zemo hit it for me because I remember having this conversation with my geek sister when we left Civil War, is that if I took out the name Zemo and I put in random John Public as a villain in terms of the motivations for trying to break them out, I don't know if I felt like there was something iconic about his tune, his motivations that made it specifically Zemo for me. However, watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was like, yes, I can get behind what this Zemo is saying. I can understand his rationale in terms of power corrupts and you need to have it destroyed. Power corrupts on the evil side, power corrupts on the
Yeah.
so-called good side. And
Because
so,
that line he said, not cutting you off, sorry, but
mhm,
that line he said when they were talking, him, Bucky, and Sam,
yeah.
and something Bucky says about, well, it didn't corrupt Steve, and he says, yes, but there's only ever been one Steve Rogers, you know?
Yeah, I remember
Exactly.
that. Hmm.
So that version of Zemo works. And to be honest with you, like at the end, when he's resting in his raft prison cell, I was like, completion. I was very happy with that. As a random by the by, the butler who blows up everybody, for me, that man has now become, the cigarette smoking man from X-Files, like that old dark man just there with a bomb and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
John still needs therapy, is where I'm going with it, because, like, I really was expecting after the death for the U.S. government to be like, well, he had a bad day, because that's the narrative that we hear now in real life. Somebody had a bad day, the police officer didn't know the difference between a taser, that kind of jokey. So I
Right.
was expecting them to go down that road. So the idea of stripping him of all that he had, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But it also set up in my brain the idea of, was Valentina making them strip him completely, or was that on their own idea? So that way he has nowhere to turn but to
Hmm,
Valentina,
It's
that's
clearly
interesting.
manipulation.
Yeah.
You know, and when I saw her coming with her boots are not made for walking, it
I know,
really
right?
did. I was like, yes, Julia, yes. And as someone who used to watch New Adventures of Old Christine, I could be wrong. Was she in New Adventures of Old
Yes.
Christine?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's her
With
and
Coulson.
Coulson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'd resurrect him and bring him back and do stuff and let him have that. Like I was saying, John needs therapy, and nowhere in the show, or nowhere moving forward, am I going to see him getting therapy because like
Exactly.
there's that coming down towards the end where she has him in the new suit and he does a little twitch and you realize that it's still there. So, it's not going to be a pleasant road moving forward with John Walker, U.S. agent. I kind of just realized that Valentina is making her very own, Suicide Squad, for whatever better way of putting it.
Dark
Then
Avengers. Yeah.
Dark Adventures. Um, there is the other thought that runs through my mind is that where Sharon was concerned, Sharon for me is kind of like the Raymond Reddington. I'm getting serious Raymond Reddington vibes of her in terms of
Mm.
it's quite possible because nowhere does she actually herself say, I'm the power broker. Carly says, I guess that's how the power broker works. And then, Batra comes in and says, so you are the power broker. So, she's still like, I feel like maybe, and this could be interesting because somebody was breaking down the Shang-Chi trailer. That scene where he's in a fight pit looks like if it could be, on Madripoor, which could very
Madripoor,
well
yeah.
it could very
Hmm.
well mean, possibly that
Right.
Sharon is actually doing a triple role, double role, in the same way how Killian and Trevor was playing that thing. The Mandarin could very well be in the background, and Sharon could be working for the
True.
Mandarin, or maybe
And she
doing a.
was talking to somebody on the phone, right? Like she seemed to be explaining her actions when she failed. So
Yeah.
I don't
So,
know.
I like for me, I thought at first that it might have been Valentina when she was first talking and saying, we're going to have a problem. Now, few episodes before, but then I realized that Valentina, at least from what they showed us, um, she and Valentina may be on separate paths. I will wrap this my thoughts by saying, I give it like a 8 out of 10. There were one or two things that I could have done without, but I very much liked it. I love the chemistry between Anthony and Sebastian. I really love the chemistry with it. That's a whole other joke unto itself. But one of the things that came through in my brain, and this is for both what I've just seen and streaming TV in general, it started to make me realize how frustrated network television is. And I'll just wrap this by saying this: like on network television, they go 2 weeks off, and I'm not going to see Grey's Anatomy for another 3 weeks, and then it shows up like May the 14th. Whereas on streaming, even if it's one episode a week, I know that at midnight on Thursday there is something that I can come out and look for. And with all these MCU, Disney Plus movie, TV shows that are coming out, even with the Lucasfilm stuff that's coming out with Kenobi and all that, I feel like streaming services have solidified their position, and I'm really starting to get worried, a little bit more worried, I should say, for network television because it's like y'all need to figure out your model and get it together. This whole stop and hiatus. It used to be cool because you knew the seasons were turning, and so September would be a new season and stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's just bloody irritating. But outside of that, Falcon and Winter Soldier, I quite enjoyed. I am looking forward to Loki because bring on the madness. And I really am. I'm here for. I'm really here for Secret Invasion. I want to see, especially with the news of the possible additions of the two queens. I am waiting to see how Secret Wars plays itself out. But Falcon and the Winter Soldier was real joy for me.
All right. Well, as you're talking about network television, boy, I know how these CW shows gonna gonna last though compared to like what the MCU doing with TV alone and with two series. But I made the joke online that now that this show over, now I actually have like about a month and 2 weeks roughly before Loki comes out. Now I could
Mhm.
see what's going on with Black Lightning and
The
Supergirl
final
and
season.
Flash and yeah, but no lie though,
Yeah,
Black
they all
Lightning.
getting cancelled.
Um, Black Lightning's previous season was hella dope in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Supergirl, no. Flash, no. I think we're supposed to be getting what's the show? Legends of Tomorrow
Yeah, that's
next month, I
unique.
believe
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
that's
That,
my
that's
that's my jam.
yeah, that's unique.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah,
jam.
yeah. So yeah,
Like I
just
don't even have a problem with. Sorry, go ahead, finish.
yeah, so no, what I was just gonna say is just like, yeah, it'll be interesting, you know what I mean? So we enjoyed ourselves with two great MCU TV shows. Now to see what the competition up to, like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing. That's how long they take to reveal this. Okay, I'll see what, yeah. But for me though, just reason why, just to get this all the way, I'll give this season, this I should say mini series, a strong 4 to a very light 4.5 out of 5. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It's not perfect, mind you. There's some flaws here or there. I imagine that if I watch it over again, I might, do a little bit more nitpicking. But for what they went with in terms of just, continuing the story from since Captain America and the Winter Soldier, I mean, up to now, I really, really thoroughly enjoyed. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited as hell to see what the MCU delivers with Loki. But in between time, though, yeah, this is a high recommend in my opinion. Um, you know what I mean? It's not, I still prefer WandaVision because of how unique, it was. But in terms of how this one was more or less grounded in reality, quote unquote, and it still managed to connect it to, what we saw before with Captain America and, Bucky and, the Falcon and all that kind of stuff. Just how they were able to just take those characters and what they mean in the MCU and just expound on them. I thought that was really great as well. So yeah, you know what I mean? This is another win for the MCU. And yeah, I can't wait for Loki to come out. Julian, final thoughts and rating on the show here.
Yeah, as I said, I had a great time with it. As it got better as time went along. Yeah, so I think this is a solid 7.5 out of 10 for me. Bring it on.
All right. Michael, final thoughts and rating.
Yeah, I'd say I kind of agree with you with the 4.5 out of 5. It's very close to being perfect, but it isn't. And there may be reasons for that, but for what we did get, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I have no real complaints.
All right. Ricardo, final thoughts and rating.
Yeah, kind of again, a bit undercooked. I didn't hate it, but great, great in terms of thematics and ideas. And we could have again, I can't really fault too much of it because of COVID, as for what it's trying to do. But yeah, it's pretty damn good for me. Ultimately, I give it like a closer 7 out of 10. Pretty well done. It have a lot to unpack, but I don't know if you have time for that. But it's just it does a lot well. It's a shame that it couldn't get a chance to just do more, come out at a different time, and probably get a better telling of the narrative. But it's still good.
Right. And last but not least, Summer, final thoughts and rating.
I'm with Ricardo. I wish it could have gotten those 8 episodes. I would have loved to see what they would have done with just 2 more episodes to flesh things out a bit.
Like we should have gotten a Isaiah flashback, a full Isaiah flashback episode, similar to what
Oh,
they
that
did.
would have been fantastic,
Yeah,
Chef.
Right.
similar
Because
to
we,
what they
we
did
got
with,
the flashback stuff with WandaVision, right?
yeah, exactly. Like how they introduced Monica in WandaVision. Yeah, we
Yes.
did something like that. But yeah, it's stuff like that.
Yeah. So, but overall, I did enjoy it. I would say 7 out of 10.
All right, cool. So yeah, another win, like I said before, for the MCU. So now we have time to catch up on our favorite CW superhero shows. But yeah, man, Loki, we getting this thing in June. So yeah, just can't wait to see what the MCU have in store with that one. Hey, this is Matthew Bailey, and I hope you've enjoyed this segment of the BS Beats and Bailey podcast. If you'd like to hear the full episode, hit up my link tree. On the other side of my head are 2 videos you can check out. Like this video if you like it, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell as well. Thanks for listening, and until the next one, take care, peace.